his package?
What is that?
I wouldn't like to put an individual. Obviously, Gabi brought something different to the club, to the team. Certain qualities and experiences that he's been through that are so helpful, and you can see that. But for me, the powerful thing is how we connect with each other.
On the edge of the D, right footed shot. What a finish! Moments after going down to 10 men, an electrifying goal from Luis Diaz.
You have to improve. You have to play better, consistently better, and defend better, attack better. Pretty much everything. It's like it is.
Good afternoon, it's The Social here on TalkSport 2, myself, Majestic, alongside Chronicles of a Gooner podcaster, Arsenal fan, Arsenal lover, Mr. Harry Symeou. You must be excited every time you hear Arteta's voice right now. It's exciting times for Arsenal, who are top of the league, who host 9th place Liverpool. And after 7-8 games, I don't think anyone saw that coming.
No, I don't think they did. I think that Arsenal showed glimpses of moving in this direction last season. There were a few performances where you could really see the intensity, the way we were trying to press people and what the game model ultimately was. But now we're in a place where we're seeing it consistently. And that is huge. You know, if you think about the only game we've lost this season in the Premier League at Manchester United, the performance was still there. So I think as a fan now, you can look at it and say, yes, the methods are working. Yes, we're sort of being able to produce this more consistently. And so naturally, there is optimism, there's excitement, and there's a bit of relief as well. Because I think a lot of us backed and supported Mikel Arteta, even at a time where we maybe struggled to see what the end goal was. But now it's clear as day.
Absolutely. And last Friday night, I was on Game Day Countdown over on TalkSport, and myself and Dan Ambrose were discussing, if Arsenal win and they beat Tottenham, you've got to consider them title contenders. They're top of the league. Where do you sit on that at the moment? I know you're a very realistic Arsenal fan. You always have been, but
I can't put them as title contenders. I can't. Not at this point. It's too early in this season.
When does it come to a point where you go, oh, actually, we're in a mixer?
Well,
Christmas?
I would have said Christmas normally, but
there's
the World Cup, which throws a massive spanner in the works. The other thing is that although there's been a lot of success in the early part of the season, I think Arsenal fans understand that this is built on quite a fragile footing, in that there are still a couple of players in that team who, if we were to be without, we're significantly weaker. Now, I know you can say that about every team. You can say that City are weaker without Haaland. You can say that Liverpool over the years were weaker without Salah, whatever. But for example, in midfield, the drop-off between Thomas Partey and Sambi Lokonga for me is still massive. And that could be a problem for us. You look up front, Eddie Nketiah has been lively this season. Signs are encouraging, but is he Gabriel Jesus level? No. Even in the wide areas, you could argue that there isn't enough depth there. So I'm fearful of the fact that if we do lose a couple of these players, maybe at the same time during a crucial period, we are significantly weaker as a team. So the title talk for me is just premature.
Who's been the player of the season so far? There's been a lot of talk about Jesus. He was fantastic against Spurs. But lots of other standout players as well. And, we've already mentioned Saliba. We're going to be talking about him later on as well in our, one of the best centre halves right now at this early part of the season. Who else has stood out for you?
There's a few. Jesus, for me, has been transformative in terms of the fact that our front line is just completely different with him in it. He buzzes around. He's busy all the time. He causes people problems. He's just as good a provider as he is goal scorer, which I don't think a lot of us realised prior to him arriving at the club. Granit Xhaka has been a revelation this season. He's completely turned the corner in Arsenal colours. Saka's been a little bit below, not in terms of him being bad, but he's not been at the level that we know he can reach. But that feels okay because other people have stepped up. Martinelli has been superb. I think he's really taken his game on. And then the obvious one at the back is William Saliba for sure.
Absolutely. Arteta had this to say on the fan support towards the team this season.
Keep giving them more reasons to be even more present and more supportive with the team. But it's not the one we cannot ask anything else. The atmosphere they're creating every time we're playing in front of them is fantastic, and we're going to continue to have those moments together.
Arsenal boss there, Arteta, talking about the fans. A race earlier in Newmarket, there was a horse race called Library. The Emirates has often had a bit of a reputation for not being the liveliest of grounds in the Premier League. Have you noticed a change in the Emirates this season?
100%. I noticed it last season. It started last season. Mikel Arteta does this thing, right, where he constantly refers to the fans. Every interview, every press conference, he talks about that connection, that energy. And what he's doing is planting a seed in the fans' mind who are going into the ground that, yeah, we come here and our responsibility is to get behind the team. When we've conceded goals at Emirates Stadium this season, the response has been a positive one. It's been people getting up, rallying the team, whereas in the past it would have been groans and moans and all of that stuff. So there's a massive, massive difference in the atmosphere, and it's helping us get over the line in some of these games.
Do you think some Arsenal fans, especially younger ones who haven't necessarily grown up with the success that you've had in terms of winning leagues and stuff, do you think you've got past the point of feeling entitled, like we should be up there challenging, and you're just in a place now where you're enjoying the brand of football that you play? And as you mentioned, Arteta's quite a romantic, isn't he?
Yeah, he talks about the values of the club a lot. He seems to have some similarities to Arsene Wenger in the way that he's really connected and ingrained in the club. And that obviously, that pulls on a heartstring for Arsenal fans. I don't think, for me personally, the entitlement thing has been an issue. I think it has been an issue for our fan base, though, in the wider context. I think when you're in that moment, so when you're winning the double, when you're winning Premier Leagues, when you're going seasons unbeaten, you don't realise at that time how lucky you are to be experiencing that. And we've had a few years now where we've looked at it and gone, well, actually, you know what? Maybe we're not entitled to win this every year. And we're starting to appreciate the successes again, which has ultimately got you to a point now where you're just enjoying it. Like, you're enjoying watching Arteta's team and you feel positive as a result.
Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp admits club record signing Darwin Núñez is feeling the pressure of his 85 million price tag. Haaland costs less, and he's doing more. The striker scored just once in the Premier League since he's moved to Anfield from Benfica in the summer. Klopp says it's been difficult for the Uruguayan, but remains confident he'll find his feet sooner rather than later.
Harry, correct me if I'm wrong, you were actually quite keen on Arsenal to make a push for Núñez.
Yeah. Correct.
He brings himself quite frequently in good finishing positions, which is actually the most important thing for a striker, and that's why everybody should be or could be very optimistic about what's coming from him in the future.
That was Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp talking about Darwin Núñez. Harry, Núñez is someone that you've been a fan of over the last few seasons. What's your thoughts on his start at the Premier League?
I think it's been underwhelming. I think it's been a bit disappointing. I think that Liverpool as a whole have been disappointing, though, and
that doesn't help his cause, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. And I think there's obviously a lot of pressure when you come in for that type of price tag. What I will say is, I wouldn't have backed Arsenal paying what Liverpool paid for him. I thought he was someone that I'd quite like to see come in. I thought he was someone who
50,
would bring...
60?
Yeah, 50, 60 feels about right. I thought that if he did come to Arsenal, which was rumoured, that he'd have brought something different to the front line, a threat in behind, physical power. I always said he was a little bit raw at times. There were things that needed refining in his game, but felt that Mikel Arteta could potentially help him with that. However, looking back at it now, I don't think that if we were after him, I don't think that we should have gone anywhere near that type of price tag. And I'm sure he'll be a success at Liverpool in the long run, but they paid a lot of money for him, and to expect instant success, I think maybe has proven to be a little bit unrealistic.
But Salah as well, he's not really started the season very strongly either, has he? So when you've got that whole front line not firing, it's going to be difficult for someone bedding in as a new person.
Yeah, and they've also changed the way they attack in a lot of ways. You know, they've gone from Roberto Firmino, who would drop into the holes and allow Salah and Mane to come in off the flanks and expose those spaces in behind, whereas now they're looking at a focal point striker. It's a little bit different, and that's going to take some time as well. I think Liverpool generally are going through a transition, and that's not to say they're not a great team and they don't have plenty of threat, but you had to expect that there was going to be some kind of teething problems, changing the type of striker that you're using and changing the way you build up as a consequence.
Well, I was actually on air on TalkSport when Mane announced his departure to Bayern Munich. How big of a miss has he been?
Huge. And I don't understand the reluctance for people to say it. I feel like every sort of colleague that I've worked with in the last few months of a Liverpool persuasion has always been reluctant to say, well, no, we really miss Sadio Mane. Like, Luis Diaz is good. And just because we say that Liverpool are missing Sadio Mane doesn't mean that we're saying that Luis Diaz isn't any good. Like, Sadio Mane was an incredible part of their success over the years. And so, they have to say, they miss him badly.
Where do you think you can expose Liverpool this weekend at the Emirates?
I think in the midfield.
Yeah.
I think they've struggled for legs in midfield. We know that if Thiago's fit, who I'm not sure if he is going to be
Also,
fit.
who's this new player playing for Arsenal, Xhaka? Who's this guy?
He's been superb.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, he's been superb. He's playing in a very different role now,
Advanced.
and I think that's benefited him.
He looks like the Xhaka that plays for Switzerland.
Yeah. His weaknesses are not exposed. He's able to show his technical ability, which has always been his biggest strength. And I think midfield, if Partey, Xhaka and Odegaard are at it, I don't think there's many more balanced midfield trios in the Premier League than that.
That's
in terms
very
of
strong.
It's got everything. And I think Liverpool have struggled in that department this season. So I'd be looking to try and impose ourselves there.
They just don't seem to find a sort of, like you said, you got the balance of that midfield. I think with Arsenal at the moment, they're struggling due to injuries as well. We know they've got injuries. To find that balance in the midfield, obviously, the likes of Henderson, becoming a little bit older. Milner's obviously getting to the latter stage of his career. Then you've got Harvey Elliott, who's very young. There just isn't this sort of synergy between them at the moment because you don't know who's going to be in that midfield all the time.
It seems to change week after week. And also Fabinho has been well below par this season.
Yeah.
In terms of the standards he's set, he's been nowhere near them. And could Jurgen Klopp have seen that coming? I don't know. I think Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool, when it comes to that midfield, have rested on their laurels a bit for a couple of seasons now, and it's caught up with them. I think they needed to refresh it earlier. I think they've brought people in like Naby Keita, who can't stay fit. They've kept Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain around the club for years, who can't stay fit. James Milner was always aging. Jordan Henderson was aging. I think Jurgen Klopp had to see this coming.
Yeah, for sure, as he'd say. We've launched a brand new daily sports quiz, the TalkSport Daily 5. It's just for fun and free to play. Go to talksport.com/quiz. It's 5 sports trivia questions against the clock. The quicker you answer, the more points you get. Then share with